Hey guys, just going to go through a recipe for a cheddar and rosemary sourdough today. Hopefully you enjoy the video. Right, to kick things off, we're going to add in 340 grams of strong white bread flour. Then I'm going to follow that up with 40 grams of rye flour and 280 grams of cold water. We're going to mix that up for 2 to 3 minutes just to get all the water incorporated in the flour. Once the flour and water is all incorporated, I'm going to leave that for 1 hour. This is your classic autolyse. After 1 hour of letting that rest, I'm going to go ahead and add in 75 grams of active starter. I fed this starter 12 hours before I started this dough. Give that a quick mix up to incorporate the starter into the flour. Then after that, I'm going to add in 9 grams of sea salt. Mix that for about 4 to 6 minutes. Now I'm going to add in the first of our 2 inclusions in this dough, and this is just some finely chopped rosemary from my garden, looking at about 5 grams. Mix that for a further 4 to 6 minutes until you get a really nice shiny dough which is coming clean away from the side of the bowl. So we're now at about 12 minutes total mix, and I'm going to do a windowpane test to see where the dough's at. So I'm going to stretch a piece out, pull it between my fingers, and hopefully, like this, it's see-through, really stretchy, and this is perfect. Then I'm going to dump the dough into a lightly oiled plastic container where I'm going to add the second inclusion, which is diced cheddar cheese, looking at about 75 grams for this recipe. So just adding in the cheese now. Then I'm going to lightly wet my hand, that helps to stop it sticking to the dough. And then just do my stretch and folds to incorporate all the cheese into that dough. Don't be scared to lift it up and kind of have a little play with it. Just make sure that cheese is all incorporated fully into the dough. You can see I'm kind of slapping the dough down. Lift it up, let it hang, and then kind of slap it back into the container. This is all going to help get that cheese into the dough. Right, this is looking really good now, so we're going to start a bulk fermentation. Just put a lid on, and we're going to leave that for about 45 minutes. After about 45 minutes, we're going to go and do our second set of stretch and folds. So just lightly wet your hands again, pull the dough from the back, stretch it, flip it over the top. Do that 2 or 3 times. Then we're just going to lift it up with both hands, let it hang naturally, and kind of bring it all together in the box. Then we're going to pop a lid on, leave this for another 45 minutes. Right, time for the third stretch and fold now, and you should be seeing a slightly different dough now. There should be some light air bubbles in it. It should feel really stretchy, smooth, and have a slight glisten to it. Again, pick it up with your hands, kind of bring it all together in the bottom of the container. That looks perfect. Then we're going to put the lid on, and we're going to leave this now for about 2 hours. After 2 hours, we're going to remove the dough from the container, and we're going to do our pre-shape. So you can see how sticky the dough is now, and the more I work with it with my bench scraper, you'll see it come together into a nice ball. You see it coming together now? That looks good. And then I'm going to lightly sprinkle it with flour, and we're going to leave that for 20 minutes just to rest on the bench before we do our final shape. Just going to go through how I prepare the banneton now. I use rice flour. I find this the best flour because it's got no gluten in it, so there's no way that the dough is going to stick to the banneton. I've had this happen a couple of times, absolute nightmare. Rice flour is a real game changer in this. So go ahead and sprinkle the banneton liberally with the rice flour. That's ready to go. Just flour in my hand slightly just to make sure the dough doesn't stick. Flip it onto the floured side, pull it into a kind of rough rectangle, and then we're just going to fold the bottom third over. Press it down with your hand so it sticks. Stretch the side out, stretch the other side out and fold it over. Bring the top towards you into the middle, and then stitch a couple of times, maybe 3 in total. You'll see the dough is really tense, and then just lightly roll it so you have that beautiful cylinder shape. You can use the table to kind of create a bit of tension with your hands and then pinch the dough together. We're just going to add this to our floured banneton now, and then that's going to go in the fridge overnight, ready to bake in the morning. So this is the next day now, and you're going to see that it's kind of puffed up in the fridge overnight as it's fermented. That's a good sign. I'm going to turn it out onto some baking paper onto a pizza paddle. Then I'm going to score it from front to back with my lamb. Now I'll do this at about a 45-degree angle just off centre. I find that's the best way of getting a good ear on your sourdough. Then I'm going to lightly spritz the dough just with some cold water from a spray bottle. This is then going to get loaded into my open bake setup, which I'm just going to quickly go through with you guys. So I'm going to load this into an oven which is just top and bottom heated, no fan. I'm going to set my temperature to 230 degrees, let this heat up for about 30 minutes before you load the dough. You'll see I'm just going to invert my grill tray at the top of the oven. This just prevents too much heat getting to the dough and setting the crust before it has time to rise. I use the pan at the bottom of the oven, which I'm going to fill full of boiling water, about 250 ml, and that's going to create all that nice steam. So just load the dough off the pizza paddle, and then we're going to pour the water into the pan, and then we're going to shut the door and turn the oven off. Now this is like a little magic trick that I've only just started using. I only presume that it's the less intense heat which just helps the dough rise like a final proof almost, but give it a try, it really works. So after 10 minutes I'm going to turn the oven back on for the final bake. So again, top and bottom heat, 230 degrees, and as you can see it's a bit hard with the reflection, but the dough is already puffing up nicely. After a further 20 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and remove the top grill tray and the bottom pan, which I filled with water, as we don't want any more steam in the oven now. We're just trying to get it nice and brown and crusty. I'll leave that like that for a further 10 minutes. And now we're all done. I'm just going to use the paddle to get the loaf out of the oven, and then let's take a look at it. Yeah, really happy with this one. I love the kind of glow that the cheese gives it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Follow for more content, and have a great week.